Hello again, everyone. I wanted to share one of my favorite artists today. This is Pieter Bruegel. He's a Dutch artist living just right after what we would think of as the period of the High Italian Renaissance. Again, he's Dutch, so he's living in the northern part of Europe. We know he traveled through Europe just a little bit, but again, the Netherlands is where we're going to find home for him. This is thought to be an early self-portrait of his. Not 100% sure, but this is the artist and the connoisseur. Already you can see he has a wonderful wit and humor, and that's really what I do enjoy about him. I look at his work and I'm reminded of a lot of other artists, Henri Daumier, the very contemporary Norman Rockwell, definitely has roots that go all the way back to Bruegel's kind of sense of things. He also has a son also named Pieter Bruegel, and who kind of follows along his father's lines in terms of art. So some of the art can kind of get misplaced between the two. Landscape with the Fall of Icarus is one of his more famous early works, and this is a wonderful example of why I enjoy him. Again, when we look at this, it's very hard to find where Icarus is. We see these tiny legs finally sticking out of the water just below the boat, but the whole process that Bruegel really has for us as a viewer is to interact with the work, to really look our way around and through things. And again, this is the power of his work and why I think he's so important. He's one of the first artists to really understand that people, when they're looking at this work, are going to be searching. And again, when we look at the landscape with the Fall of Icarus, this is a wonderful example of that. The figure, the main point of the painting, the narrative is so small. This is kind of the other style he's really known for, this all-overism, kind of the Where's Waldo of its time, if you will. The Battle of Carnival in Lent, with Lent being on the right side, as you can see the church and the members coming out, and Carnival being more on the left side. When we look at this, there's no one central point to look at. There's all of these different tiny little aspects, all these wonderful little points of narrative to kind of look through and enjoy. And that's really the idea, is that one, when they looked at a painting like this, would spend a significant amount of time looking at it and really enjoying it for its fine details. And we go back and we think about the history of artists from this area. We can go back as far as Hieronymus Bosch, but you could even go farther back to some of the sculpture that you have from the Romanesque and Gothic periods, kind of lending forward to this style of art. Here's one of these wonderful details that I'm talking about. This is obviously on the Carnival side. I love this giant rotund individual sitting on top of this barrel, making him look even more rotund, with his foot in this pot, and this large skewer of meat of different sorts. And you look at the characters around, and this bulge-eyed creature down at the bottom, and again, these finer details, the little bones, and even the playing card that we see on the ground, these are all things that lend themselves forward into the enjoyment of the work itself. And again, when we look at this, there's as much commentary in this painting between the concepts of religion that are probably occurring at this time, between the Catholicism and Protestantism that are occurring in the Netherlands simultaneously. Dutch Proverbs from 1559 is probably one of his more famous works, and what this painting is a wonderful visual representation of over 100 proverbs that were used at the time. Proverbs are little wonderful sayings, little idioms that you have within society. I love this painting because you can spend so much time looking at it and trying to figure out what the proverbs are. And again, this is a historical record as much as anything. When we look at this, we need to be reminded that some of these proverbs don't even make sense to us anymore, and then some of them we still use almost in a daily fashion, and that's the fun part of paintings like this. And again, as we look through this, we can see many of these proverbs for themselves. the world turned upside down. If we look at the building, we can see this wonderful globe, and we know it's the world turned upside down because the cross is underneath. And I always like to pair this with the other one on the right side, the detail to tie a flaxen beard on the face of God, for no other reason that you can actually see the orb right side up on the right side as it was meant to be. And again, when we look at this, this is to tie a flaxen beard on the face of God. I'm sure not a common phrase in many people's lives in the today, as opposed to the world turned upside down. Again, something you would hear quite often. The one on the right is a reference to the idea that someone is pretending to be holy or righteous, but at the end of the day is quite the opposite of that. And again, when you think about that, we don't really use that very much in our common vernacular anymore. Children's Games is another painting we have along the same lines as Dutch Proverbs, but in this instance what we have is a collection of games that children would play at that time. Both of these, we can see this perspective kind of going off to the right side and then going off very far in the distance. This is something kind of common that we see with Bruegel's work, this shifting perspective to either the right or the left. In some instances, it goes completely off of what we would think of as the canvas surface. Very much like the predecessor, this just has wonderful examples of games that children were playing during this time period, a whole collection, and very much enjoyable for the same reason. You can look at this and see that in some ways very little has changed between what kids did during this time period and what kids were doing back in the day. On the left we have girls playing with dolls, and if we think about the history of dolls, probably what we would think of as the first toy, quote unquote, that might have appeared, inflating a bladder, and this could almost be construed as a ball, if you will. And then we have this tiny detail of a gentleman with some sort of stick, almost trying to catch flies or insects with it, with a net on the end of it. Again, common activities that you would probably think of not that far off from what we would think of children doing today, given the time. And these wonderful collection paintings that we have by Bruegel are just fascinating pieces of history, not only because of the fact that we can enjoy what the images are, but the perspective on what the games are actually representations of. Fall of the Rebel Angels from 1562, kind of changing subject matter over and looking at something in a different direction, but the same type of intensity. Instead of having a type of categorical approach to something, instead what we have is this approach at kind of imagining what angels and demons would really look like. And from this time period, this is always one of these more interesting things, because we don't have any pre-described imagery of what an angel or demon might look like. We have these ideas of wings, and in some cases the angels have bird wings, but in others they have insect wings as well. Some of them have butterfly wings and things of that like. And this is also a very interesting painting because Bruegel has really kind of imagined a lot of these demons as being these sea creatures. And if we think about the idea that, one would fall off a boat into the depths and sink down to the bottom of the ocean, this almost seems appropriate. Another thing that I love about this painting are all of these different musical instruments that he's kind of incorporated into it as well. We can see some of them as an example, a type of harp up there and almost a cello-shaped object up there being played around, and we have a character playing a flute type of vessel as well. These strange musical instruments that he's kind of put into the composition as well. And as I mentioned, these butterfly wings and insect wings, if we look at the very top, we have a creature coming down